Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto discovers a hidden temple that contains a summoning contract for an old and dangerous species? Episode 1. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Let's start the story. Naruto Uzumaki was feeling down today. Check that, he felt down most days despite his mask of happiness that he wears on a daily basis. The reason behind this was that he was in a constant state of loneliness. Now most kids at the age of 7 would maybe have a friend or two, and would most likely have an adult guardian of some sort, who would be with them on a daily basis. Naruto was not most 7-year-olds, however, because he had found out early in his life, that most adults would ignore him for the most part, save for the occasional insult thrown his way. The adults, in turn, would tell their children to avoid him at all costs, saying things that he was a bad child that would hurt them if they got too close. This was not true, however. The reason behind why the adults seemed to want nothing to do with the boy was because, on the day Naruto was born, a terrible monster called the Nine-Tailed Fox Demon nearly destroyed the village. The village's current leader, the 4th Hokage, had to seal this beast away into the infant Naruto, as killing the fox would only delay the destruction until he formed again in a few years. The sealing cost the 4th Hokage his life, but before he died, he asked that the boy would be treated as a hero for containing the demon. The villagers, however, mostly ignored this order due to the mental scars held from the fox's attack. While the people of Konoha did not do anything to physically harm the boy, they made sure that he would not feel wanted by basically ignoring his existence, since before he could talk, none of the children knew that Naruto held the fox, thanks to a law that the 3rd Hokage passed after Hiri took his mantle after the death of his predecessor. However, as previously mentioned, the villagers were able to find a loophole in the 3rd's law. While they could not directly tell their children about why to avoid Naruto, they settled for telling them to stay away from the boy, and trusting that the children would obey their parents. Because of this, Naruto has spent the majority of his young life alone, with the exception of visits from the 3rd Hokage, who Naruto had come to view as a surrogate grandfather figure, as well as Aim and Tsuchiya Chiraku, who owned the ramen stand that he frequently visited. There was also Ruka-sensei, who while at first seemed to act wary of the boy, had later seemed to warm up to him somewhat, and actually answered his questions at the academy, as opposed to the other teachers who just ignored him like the rest of the villagers. Even with these few people in his life, Naruto found most of his time alone, because the people that were nice to them couldn't fit time outside of their busy work lives to constantly be with him. There were some students at the academy who seemed friendly enough, namely among the clan heirs, but a majority seemed to act indifferent to Naruto's presence. Early in his life, Naruto had discovered that acting sad didn't make his problems go away, so he made up a mask of a happy-go-lucky goofball, who pranked a majority of the villagers at one time or another. This did not, however, alleviate the heartbreak he felt whenever he saw other children playing with each other in the park, or whenever he saw happy families going through town together. Today was different from the usual emotional pain, however. Naruto had just left the academy after being thoroughly beaten by the class's top student, Sasuke Uchiha. While the loss itself had hurt, it was how the other students laughed and mocked him that really got to him. While he might enjoy doing the occasional prank to get people to acknowledge him, the fact that the students were laughing at his failure weighed heavily with his other emotional baggage. The thing that really got to him was that there wasn't a single sympathetic face in the jeering crowd to give him some comfort at his loss. Well, there was one, but Naruto didn't notice this, as the pale lavender-eyed girl lowered her head in a shy manner the second he looked her way. Naruto was wandering through the dense forest surrounding the village of Konoha, trying to clear his head from the torrent of depressing thoughts. I wonder if I'll ever have any friends, Naruto thought sadly. Maybe this wouldn't hurt so badly if there was someone I could truly relate to. So caught up in his thoughts that Naruto completely missed the route in his path until he tripped over it and tumbled into a hidden hole off the side of the path he was walking on. Oof. Naruto cried out as he hit the hard stone floor of the hole he fell through. Oh great, as if this day wasn't bad enough, as it was already. Naruto whined as he picked himself up and shook the cobwebs in his head. Where am I? I've never seen this place before. It almost looks like it was built. Naruto noticed as he looked at the carved walls and floor with the little light provided to him through the hole in the ceiling. Whoa, this place is kinda freaky looking. It almost looks like something out of a cliché horror anime that old man Hokage sometimes lets me watch. I better get out of here before something else happens. Wait a second, how am I supposed to get out? Naruto yelped, as he then noticed that there were no steps or way to climb out of the hole he fell through 10 feet above his head. Well, isn't this just awesome? First there was that match against Sasuke team, and now I get trapped in some hole in the middle of the frickin' forest. Naruto grumbled out loud. Well, no sense sitting around here, better see if there's another way out that I can actually reach. Man, I hate being short. Naruto reasoned, as he started looking through the deep hole he fell through, careful not to stray too far from the light, so he wouldn't become even more lost. Suddenly, Naruto's hand felt a switch along the wall, and, being the curious child that he was, decided to press it to see what would happen, regardless of the consequences. The door panel to his right immediately shot open, and Naruto could make out a dim light at the end of the tunnel. Thinking it was a possible way out, Naruto carefully edged his way down the corridor. He jumped with a yelp as the door panels suddenly slammed shut behind him. Trying to prevent his beating heart from jumping out of his chest, Naruto took a nervous gulp to swallow the lump in his throat and continued his way down the tunnel. When he reached the light, Naruto gaped at what he saw. It seemed he had found his way into some old abandoned temple of some sorts. There were old scrolls and books lining up the walls, and the ceiling was made of a beautiful painted glass that gave off a mysterious glow, despite the fact that it was obviously underground, and there was no sunlight present to explain where the light was coming from. Naruto looked around the room, hoping to find some form of an escape route. Finding none, he sighed, and then decided to look through the scrolls. While Naruto normally did not enjoy reading, he reasoned that he might be able to find a map of this place, so he could figure out where the exit was, or at least find out wherever it was. After an hour of searching, Naruto was starting to lose hope that he would ever find a way out of this place. I wonder how long it will be before the old man realizes that I'm gone, Naruto muttered. What if nobody finds me down here, or worse, what if no one even bothers to come looking for me? Naruto thought with a start. Just as Naruto was about to break down and cry, he noticed a scroll that was slightly above the others on the shelf. What stood out about this scroll was that it was incredibly thick with decorative handles sticking out of both sides, and the fact that it had a necklace of some sort wrapped around it that had 6 magenta beads in the shape of common marks surrounding it. His curiosity perked. Naruto took the scroll off the shelf and started into a coughing fit as the dust from the shelf poured right on his face. The first thing he noticed was that the scroll was incredibly old, but wasn't brittle at all, despite the obvious age the parchment carried. As Naruto carefully unfurled the scroll, he also took note that the words written in them were clear as day, but were written in a very old dialect. It took Naruto a good 30 minutes, but he was finally able to summarize what the paper said. In its contents it stated, "To whoever finds this place, let it be known that those with ill intent can never use the contents of this room, for there are special seals placed at the entrance that prohibit anyone but the purest of hearts from entering. As for who I am, my name has long since been cast aside for my quest, but most people have taken to calling me the Sage of the Six Paths, and these are a recollection of my life. Some say that I am the father of modern ninjutsu, and while that is true to an extent thanks to the power I possess called the Rinnegan, I did not learn my abilities on my own. A few years after I had unlocked the powers of my eyes, and had started to master the energies located in myself, an ever-living being, called chakra by some, I had discovered a group of races that live outside our dimension. These beings are similar to the animals of our world, however they all possess intelligence equal to or greater than humanity's. I have found out that these beings also have an understanding of chakra, even more so than my own. I felt that there is much to be gained by working with these different races, so I went to study under the multitude of different animal clans. From the toad sages to the healing slugs, and the violent snakes, they all have a different fighting style, and philosophy on life itself. It was through them that I was able to learn, as much as I did. If they were not around to guide me on the ways of chakra, it would have taken me many more years than it did to learn all that I now know. The clans told me of a technique called the summoning jutsu, that by going through a certain series of hand seals, allows us to summon them to our dimension, and vice versa. All that is needed is a contract sealed in blood to mark our partnership. If one performs the hand seals, and does not have a contract, they will instantly be summoned to the realm of the animal they have the greatest affinity to. I myself had written a contract with most, if not all the species, and am able to summon any of them at will. They also informed me that anyone possessing Rinnegan will also have a contract with all the animal clans. There was one clan, however, that stood out among the rest. This species was known as the Bakemono, and they were one of the most powerful clans in existence. They had perfected mastering chakra to the point where they not only could manipulate the elements better than the strongest ninjutsu, but they possess a number of abilities that few humans could ever hope to match, such as flight, lightning-like speeds, claws stronger than steel, the ability to become invisible to the naked eye, near immortality, and strength that few could match. It was with a certain Bakemono that I had formed a contract with, for unlike other summons, the Bakemono only does individual contract summons due to their belief in hunting alone. Also, unlike other summons, the Bakemono can stay in this realm for an infinite amount of time, while other summons must head back to their world after they are either called back or run out of chakra. This certain Bakemono decided to follow me because, in his own words, it would amuse me. We went on many adventures together that are further detailed in this scroll, including his help in defeating and sealing the Jubi into me. As I am nearing the end of my life, my Bakemono friend suggests placing his contract into this scroll located at the bottom of this insert. All that is needed to activate it is a little blood to be smeared across, and for chakra to be placed into it. There are also details on the hand seals required for the sealing next to it. The reason that I am telling you this is because the reason you have gotten this far into this chamber is because the sealing wards I have placed have deemed you pure of heart and worthy enough to carry out my mission after I am gone. To bring peace to this world. The Bakemono would most certainly help you in this, but be warned. The Bakemono are a proud species, and will most likely test you on your worthiness to work with them. He would most likely kill you if he finds you unworthy, so you can sign the contract at your own risk. Best of luck. The scroll went on, but Naruto ignored the rest in favor of staring at a seal placed dead center in the scroll, just after the ending of the first insert. Right below it was a detailed description of the hand seals required, which were just like the ones Naruto learned in the academy. Naruto's mind was racing through different thoughts. His first thought was on how cool it was that he discovered an article from someone who shaped the ninja world into what it is today. Another was that he now realized that the scrolls and books filling the room were research scrolls the sage of the 6 paths left behind, and that they undoubtedly held many secrets and awesome techniques he could use. Naruto's main thoughts were on the sealing scroll before him though. Do I really want to sign this? He mused. I mean, it would be awesome to have such a cool summon like the Bakemono, but the sage says that this one would kill me if he doesn't find me worthy enough. What should I do? Naruto thought about it for a grand total of 3.5 minutes before he reached his decision. He was Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage of Konoha. If he was scared over something like this, how would he be able to become the village's strongest ninja? He also reasoned that the Bakemono would accept him no problem, thanks to how awesome he is. So, tossing caution to the wind, Naruto bit into his thumb, and placed the blood across the seal, focusing his chakra into it, like how Iruka-sensei taught him to open a sealing scroll. There was a small poof of smoke, and when it cleared there was another large scroll on top of the other one. He opened up the scroll, and saw that you were supposed to place your name and handprint by comparing what the sage did. However, the sage's name was mysteriously blotted out. After signing both his name and placing his bloody handprint on the open space on the seal thanks to his still bleeding thumb, Naruto slowly went through the hand seals described on the other scroll, so he wouldn't mess up. After he was certain he did them all correctly, he focused his chakra and yelled, summoning jutsu. There was another, though much larger, puff of smoke that filled the room, and, as it cleared, Naruto could make out a shape taking form in the smoke. It was then that a deep growling voice called out to him, making him nearly have a heart attack for a second time that day. The voice said, well, this is a surprise. I never thought another human would summon me to this world. Naruto gasped, as the smoke caused by the summoning faded, and the owner of the voice was revealed. The being before him was huge. Naruto was fairly small for his age, but he knew just by looking that the creature was at least a full foot taller than Iruka-sensei, at least 7 feet in height. The being was covered in burnt orange fur. Naruto's inner orange fanboy squealed in delight, with black stripes running along his back, face, and arms. The Bakemono stood on 2 legs like a man, but its hind legs were shaped like most cats and dogs. Its arms had human-shaped hands that ended in knife-like claws that were at least a foot long, more than capable of slicing right through him like a loaf of bread. Naruto also noticed a cat-like tail swishing behind the beast's back. Slightly darker orange hair hung from its head all the way down its back, and had a part right above the face that was a shocking white color. It was the beast's face though, that drew most of Naruto's attention. It had wide pupilless eyes that seemed to glow with power and ferocity. The mouth was filled with razor-sharp teeth that could easily go through solid stone if it had to. What was interesting though was that depending how you looked at the face, it looked a mix between animal and human. There was a muzzle, but it was smaller than a dog's, and if you looked directly at the front it was almost non-existent. All in all, it was an awe-inspiring and frightening image to behold. Naruto was shook out of his trance-like state when the Bakemono spoke again in a deep, gravelly voice that indicated the being was male. Ha, so this is my new summonary. A lot smaller than my previous one, that's for sure. Doubt you'd even be a mouthful of a snack. Despite the thing called common sense that was screaming at him to keep quiet, Naruto gained a tick mark on his head as he shouted at the monster, don't call me little. I'm not a runt, I just haven't hit my growth spurt yet, and you're too tall anyway, idiot. The creature's eyes whitened slightly before he gave a deep belly laugh, and he reached down before picking Naruto up by the back of his shirt, before bringing the boy to eye level. The beast glared at his summoner, and growled out, of course you're a runt. A suicidal runt at that if y'all think talking to me like that's good for your health. Besides, what's a pipsqueak like you gonna do if I keep calling you that, Hyuga? The monster was cut off mid-speech, as Naruto's foot got introduced to his face, causing the beast to let go of the brat, and clutch at his aching nose. He looked at the boy with tear-filled eyes, and growled out, what was that for, you stupid brat? Though it sounded more like a whine. Quickly regaining his composure, the monster stood at his full intimidating height, and gave a roar, idiot mortal. Do you have any idea who I am? I'm Lord Nagatomaru, master of the Bakemono, and slayer of both man and beast. Who do you think you are, huh? Naruto stared defiantly back at the yokai, his mind filled with stubborn determination. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, future shinobi of the village hidden in the leaves, and I'll be the greatest Hokage there ever was, ya stupid cat. The now named Nagatomaru growled at the cat comment before calming his mind, refusing to let a little brat get a rise out of him. The beast looked at the boy with his white eyes, and said, despite your clear lack of respect, I'm guessing you're not a complete waste of my time if you were able to summon me. Tell me though, why in the hell should I work with you? Answer carefully, brat, cause your next words could be your last. Although not the brightest person around, Naruto understood that he had somehow crossed the line when he summoned the beast. While not above being selfish, the boy's inherently good nature overcame his desire to somehow weasel his way out of the uncomfortable situation, as he admitted, "I just wanted to summon something, anything." Not satisfied by the boy's answer, Nagatomimaru demanded, "For what?" Looking as horribly dejected as he felt, the boy explained, "To show everyone that I can be an awesome ninja like my idol, the fourth Hokage, and to have a friend." The monster stared at him for a minute with a piercing stare, and Naruto shifted uncomfortably, as those pure white orbs seemed to stare into his soul. Finally, Nagatomimaru sighed and said, "All right, brat, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, for now. You clearly have some potential to be able to find this place, and summon me of all beings." But now, his voice has become more growl-like. "For some reason, any reason at all, I find no reason to stick around, I'm off. And if you continue to tick me off, I just may have a snack before leaving, if you get my meaning," he said while flashing his sharp white teeth, causing Naruto to gulp. "Now," the summon said, "I'm gonna do a quick run through your mind, just to see what I'm working with." Naruto looked surprised. "Run through my mind? How are you going to do that?" "Like this," Nagatomimaru stated before reaching out with one of his claws, and placing it on the boy's forehead, causing both beings to freeze up, and go still. Scene break. The tiger-like monster blinked, as he found himself in a sewer-like background. Wrinkling his nose in disgust, the man-beast growled out, "Man, what kind of crappy life does this kid live to have this for a mindscape?" Going through the winding hall, the tiger found himself in front of a large room with an equally large cage at one end. Curious, the bakemono moved over to the cage, walking on top of the water to do so, and found himself staring at a huge slumbering fox with 9 waving tails. The smaller monster cocked an eyebrow, and then said, "Huh? What are you doing in T-Brat Kurama?" The fox twitched at the voice, and slowly woke up, stretching to his true, intimidating height. Then the fox growled out, "Who dares disturb the great Kaiuha?" It was then he noticed the other presence in the room. The fox's red eyes went comically wide, and he did his best version of a bow he could do in the cage he was trapped in. The 9-tailed fox then stammered out, "Lord Nagatomimaru, how have you been? I haven't seen you since before the old man died. How in the world did you get into the brat's mindscape? The humans didn't seal you in here either, did they?" The tiger snickered at the fox's antics, and then said, "First of all, I've been fine except a bit bored over the millennia. Second of all, no, I'm not sealed, just checking out the mind of my latest summoner. Lastly, how do you get you furry, but sealed into this brat?" The Kyuubi's mouth did an impressive impersonation of a goldfish, as he gaped at the much smaller animal, and stuttered, as summoner him. "But that's as amused as I am by your smart conversation, this is getting a bit troublesome." The tiger grumbled before he phased through the bars of the seal, and smacked the fox upside the head, causing the titan to go flying into the ceiling before coming down with a resounding crash. After Kurama shook the dancing hippos out of his head, he then looked back at the tiger with a more respectable expression on his face. "That's better," Nagatomimaru smirked, and then told the fox how the blonde midget had found the hidden chamber of the Sage of the Six Paths, and had found his summoning contract. Kurama, in turn, informed him of everything that has happened in the world since the summon had gone back to his realm. The Kyuubi got a tick mark, as the tiger rolled around on the ground in hysterical laughter, after being told about his run-in with the Gold and Silver Brothers of Hidden Cloud. Nagatomimaru then gained a somber expression when Kurama told him about Madara Uchiha and Hashirama Senju's infamous struggle, and how he got dragged into it, and about his next 3 imprisonments. After telling him of the events from his last release, the monster then gave a sigh. "Well, this world sure has had some interesting things happen to it, huh?" Nagatomimaru said, as he cracked a pointed grin. "It's been great catching up with Kurama, especially since the last time I saw you, you were barely bigger than I was. Now I'm guessing the brat doesn't know about you yet then." Seeing the great fox shake his head, Nagatomimaru gave a nod, and said, "Well, I guess I'll leave your presence a secret for now, till the people responsible for the kid decide to tell him. Who knows, maybe I can properly introduce the two of you when the time is right." Noticing Kurama's disbelieving look, the summon then said chidingly, "Oh come on, give the kid a chance, will ya? I mean, if I can tolerate him, surely you can. Anyway, well, it's been great catching up, and all I need to go through the kid's memories yet, so I'll catch you around, okay?" With a wave of his clawed hand, the summon then went out of the sealing chamber, and proceeded to go through his summoner's memories. Nagatomimaru gave a growl, as he saw how cold most of the villagers treated Naruto, but he then saw the select few that actually seemed to give a crap about the blonde, while also noticing the boy's pale-eyed stalker, and gave a snicker, as he thought on all the fun he could have messing with the two till they noticed each other. The tiger then noticed the boy's determination and strength of will despite his life, and gave a satisfied nod, as he decided he found a good summoner for now. Scene break. While it may have seemed like hours for the bakemono, in truth only 2 seconds had passed in the real world. After he lowered his claw, the boy looked at the beast, and asked, "Is everything alright, Tor?" The summon froze. "What the hell did you call me?" he asked in a dangerous voice. Naruto looked bashful. Well, I tried thinking of how to pronounce your name, but I kinda had a rough time with it, so I figured I'd call you Tora for short, cause you look kinda like a tiger. The now dubbed Tora gave an exasperated sigh. Would I have to get such an idiot as a summoner? Ignoring the boy's indignant look, he continued, well, good news for you, brat, is that I've deemed you worthy of being the summoner of my awesome self, so be grateful. I'll teach you everything that y'all need to know, but don't think I'll go easy on you. He gave a fanged smirk to the now pale blonde. After all, if you're gonna be my summoner, that means you're going to be representing me, and I can't have a weakling as a summoner now, can I? Any questions? Just one, how do we get out of here? Asked Naruto, as he noticed they were still in the chamber with no visible way out. Tor snorted and said, that's easy enough. Climb on my back, brat, and if you make so much, as one horse commented, I swear to God I'll eat you feet first. The blonde gulped again, and climbed onto his new summoner's back. The tiger then shot into the air, much to Naruto's shock, and phased right through the roof, as if it wasn't there at all. Thus begins a beautiful friendship. Ouch. Watch the hair, you idiot. Or not. Naruto was snoozing contentedly on his bed, sprawled so that half his body was sticking out of the covers, and had a bit of drool coming out of the side of his grinning mouth, while he dreamed of opening the world's first all-you-can-eat ramen bar. The sun had started peeking through the window, casting an ominous shadow over the blonde sleeping figure. Suddenly, Naruto woke to a sense of foreboding, and immediately rolled out of the way, just as four claw-shaped marks appeared on the pillow right where his head was not a minute ago. What the crap? Naruto shouted, as he entangled himself from the floor where he crashed after the near-death experience. It was then he noticed the tall tiger-like figure crouching on his bed with an amused grin on its beastly face. What's the big idea, Tor? Naruto barked out angrily, as he got to his feet while keeping his eyes on his new summon mentor. The previous day, after the Bakemono summon got the duo out of the underground temple, Naruto had directed Tor to his apartment. While initially worried on how other people might react to the large summon's presence, the tiger informed the 7-year-old that unless he wanted people to see him, his presence would be all but invisible to the naked eye. As it was getting late, Naruto offered Tora to sleep on his couch until he could afford a guest bed, but the summon refused, saying he prefers sleeping on the roof, as opposed to sleeping in a, and I quote, monkey-smelling concrete cage. The boy bid his new friend goodnight, but was promised to experience training from hell the next day. Back to the attempted murder. It's quite simple, brat, Tora informed his summoner with a fanged smirk. Since you want to be a ninja so bad, I'm going to teach you all the tools you need to survive until I no longer deem necessary. That was simply lesson number 1. Situational awareness. From now on I'll be launching sneak attacks on you at any given time, until you can avoid me without even thinking about it. Are you crazy? You nearly killed me with that attack. Naruto bit back irritably, cranky both from the attack, and the fact that it was the crack of dawn. Oh please, if I wanted to kill you, you'd be dead before even the Shinigami realized it. Tor growled back before gaining a sadistic smile on his face, and said in a creepy sing-song voice, and now for lesson number 2. Try to avoid me for the next hour. He roared the last part, as he leapt at his summoner, claws, and fangs bared. It was going to be a long morning. Time skip. Fortunately for Naruto, it was the weekend, so he didn't have to worry about explaining to Iruka-sensei why he was covered in painful scratch marks, and 1 or 2 bite marks. He huffed, as he prepared a bowl of instant ramen, and waited for the agonizing 3 minutes before his breakfast was done. Tor was watching him in a semi-bored state, as he idly licked the stray blood off his claws. You know, the summon began. I may not be an expert on human anatomy or nothing, but shouldn't you try having something better for you than noodles so early in the morning? You're going to need your strength, brat, for the training I plan on putting you through. Ignoring the shiver that ran down his spine at the mention of more training, Naruto simply said, I know I could probably eat better, but ramen is the best I can afford with my budget that I can get from old man Hokage, until I can start taking missions of my own. Besides, as Naruto grinned, ramen is too good of a food to pass up. Tor simply shrugged his furry shoulders, and said, makes no difference to me. However, if you'd be interested, I can share a tip or two about hunting and gathering food. Can't have my summoner keeling over cause of poor food choices, now can I? Naruto turned and gave a big grin. I'd like that, he said sincerely, since those skills would undoubtedly be useful for whenever he became a real ninja and was required to take long-term missions outside the village. Plus he was grateful for all of the help the tiger-like summon has offered him so far. Now, would you like to try some ramen? Naruto asked, as he prepared a bowl of his own. Why not? Tor said with another shrug. Naruto poured another bowl of the ramen, and set it before his new sensei, and the tiger carelessly picked up the entire bowl, and chugged the whole thing in one go. After letting out a satisfied belch, and picking his teeth with a clawed finger, he said, not bad. Not really the same as meat, but passable. Naruto was happy that the summon liked the ramen, but of course he really wished that he didn't downplay God's gift to mankind like that. Taking a deep breath, and trying to count backwards from 10 to calm himself, Naruto said, so Tor-sensei, where are we going to train? HMPH, should call me Lord Tora at least. The Bakemono mumbled loud enough for Naruto to hear, and then said in a normal tone, well brat, since you're so eager, why don't we go there now? Before the blonde could even comment or question his teacher, he found himself being yanked up into the air by Tora's long hair that acted as a lasso, and found himself being dragged out of his apartment's open window into the morning sky. While this was happening, Naruto was frantically trying to eat his ramen that he was able to snag from the table while hanging upside down, and trying not to spill any. Time skip. Naruto found himself dangling above a vast amount of forest, still being held around the ankle by his summoner's hair. Tora-sensei, what are we doing here? This is where you'll be training for the next 48 hours, brat, the silver-eyed tiger said smugly. I took the liberty of looking for the best place for your survival training, and this seems to be the best. In truth, he'd listened in on a conversation carried on by two drunken walking by Naruto's apartment the previous evening, and they were saying how training ground 44 was going to start being used in the Chunin exams from now on, and how they couldn't believe they'd send kids into the forest of death of all places. Intrigued, Tora went to check out the fabled training grounds, and was satisfied that it would serve as good survival training for his new charge. For now though, try and stay alive. Tora shouted out, as his hair unwrapped itself from the boy's ankle. How Naruto was able to gasp out before he was unceremoniously dropped 20 feet onto the forest floor right on his bum. Grumbling, as he stood up while rubbing his abused rear end, Naruto had looked up, and was about to curse out the summon, before he heard an ominous growl to his left. Hesitantly, Naruto turned to look at the source of the noise, and noticed 3 huge regular tigers looking at him like he was a juicy steak. Gulping audibly, Naruto slowly backed away while stammering out, "Aw, nice kitties." The tigers simply roared, and started to give chase to the easy meal. Naruto gave off a very manly scream, and ran for his life, the tigers in hot pursuit. Meanwhile, still floating above the canopy in a reclined position with his arms resting behind his shaggy head, Tora gave a rumbling laugh, as he watched his blonde brat's life or death struggle. Little did the brat know that he had come upon the tiger den during his visit the previous evening, and, due to his obvious affinity towards the large cats, was able to convince them to help out with this little training exercise. The native tigers would chase his charge until he looked ready to collapse, and then come back and begin the chase anew every few hours. This would hopefully build up the blonde's endurance and survival instincts, as well as making him stronger. And if things got too rough, the tigers had orders to back off, and if possible help the blind idiot. But there was no need to tell him that now was there. Hearing another manly scream echo through the forest, followed by the roars of several tigers, Tora smirked to himself. Perhaps he'd use this 48-hour period to further reacquaint himself with the brat's village. After all, his summoner seemed to have his hands full at the moment. For Naruto, it was going to be a long 2 days. And the best part was, he had school to go to right after. This was just not his day. Good morning, Claw Naruto, what happened? A scar teacher named Daruka greeted, then shouted at his class on Monday. The class turned to look at their blonde-haired peers, and couldn't help but stare. Naruto looked like he'd received the worst of a cat mauling, minefield, and mud run all at once. His clothes were splattered with what Daruka hoped was mud and some dried blood, and had jagged tears everywhere. His face was covered in scratches, and it looked like he had a black eye, and was missing a baby tooth. All in all, Naruto looked like death worn over. Chuckling sheepishly until he had to hold on to his still tender ribs, Naruto said abashedly, "Would you believe me if I told you I slipped and fell?" The entire class were dropped at this, and Daruka sighed while pinching the bridge of his scarred nose. If the blonde could joke about his condition, and come to class, then it obviously looked worse than it did. "Eyeing the whiskered child," Daruka said, "just take a seat, Naruto, and go see the nurse after class." Naruto nodded while gingerly sitting down in the back of the class. While he normally was one for attention, this wasn't the kind he had in mind, and would rather stay in the back of everyone's minds for now. Also, it gave him plenty of opportunities to speak to his new furry friend. Tora was perched idly on Naruto's shoulder, feeling significantly lighter than what his large form suggests. No one paid the tiger-like summon any mind, since he'd made himself all but invisible to anyone who wasn't his summoner. Late last evening, Tora had decided Naruto had enough training for the weekend, and picked him up from the Forest of Death. The past 2 days for Naruto had been, for lack of a better term, hell. The giant tigers had been relentless in their pursuit of the young blonde, and if that wasn't enough, there were giant leeches, poisonous plants, and animals, as well as quicksand pits to look out for. To say Naruto was surprised to be alive when Tora showed up and hauled him back home was like saying Kakashi liked treating smut, a huge understatement. He'd been covered with even more wounds that night, and collapsed on the bed in pure exhaustion, after thoroughly cursing Tora out, and didn't even have the strength left to change his torn and dirty clothes. Naruto woke with a start that morning, and had to rush to class after grabbing a quick bite, 47 bowls of ramen, at Ichiraku's. Naruto sent a silent glare at his orange-furred companion, who was still chuckling at his disheveled appearance. While he knew he couldn't match the summon physically, Naruto swore to all higher powers that he'd prank the ever-living daylights out of the tiger, as soon as he got the chance. Iruka started onto the day's lecture on the Second Shinobi War, which Naruto soon started to lose focus on until he felt a sharp pinch on his cheek. Trying not to yelp, and with tears in his eyes, Naruto stared up at Tora in both anger and confusion. The powerful summon gave a glare with his pale eyes, and whispered harshly, "Pay attention, brat. I refuse to have an idiot as my summoner, so if I have to I'll force you to focus through every lesson until you get it through that thick skull of yours to listen." Naruto gulped, and meekly nodded while turning his attention back to Iruka-sensei. No point arguing with a large tiger who could easily eat you, or worse increase his insane training regime even more. After several hours of being forced to listen, Naruto sat on one of the benches provided by the academy for lunch breaks with a groan. This one was hidden by trees and bushes to give the blonde some privacy, so he could talk to Tora. Not only were the lessons dull and boring, but Tora kept pinching him with his sharp claws every time it looked like his attention was wavering. Fortunately by this point, Naruto's advanced healing had done its miracles on his body, and the scratches and bruises were all but non-existent. It was just the exhaustion that remained. Naruto received a chill, as he felt Tora leer down at him from the tree branch perched above his seat. "Constant vigilance, brat." The tiger summon roared, as he leapt down at his blonde-haired student with his claws extended. Naruto managed to roll out of the way in time, as the bakemono crashed into the ground right in front of him with a swipe to the chest. Without thinking, Naruto's newly honed instincts made him grab one of the practice kunai he kept in his supply pouch, and tossed it at the white-eyed tiger. The blade actually hit through, and sunk into Tora's hand. They both stared at the blade for a few awkward seconds before Tora responded. "YOWCH. He hollered, as he danced around comically with the blade sticking out of his hand. Realizing what he was doing, Tora quickly tried to compose himself, and save what dignity he had left by pulling the blade out of his paw, and turned towards Naruto, with his throbbing hand clasped behind his back. "Nicely done, brat," Tora complimented in what he hoped was a casual tone. "Your reflexes have improved nicely." Naruto bashfully rubbed the back of his head with a grin on his face, before he gained a confused expression. "I'm actually surprised I made that. I'm usually the worst shot in the class, yet I was able to hit the bullseye while on the move too." Tora grimaced, as he thought of his aching hand as a bullseye, but gave a sagely nod of his head, and explained, "It's not really surprising when you think about it. That training I've put you through wasn't just for fun, you know." Naruto gave a sour look, as that training had been far from fun. "You've been hardening your reflexes by surviving both my sneak attacks, and all that survival training in the forest. With increased reflexes comes increased hand-eye coordination, as well as a stronger mind and body. In a few more months, I wouldn't be surprised if you were on the same level, if not higher than, your peers." Naruto gave his summon a grateful smile, and went back to the table to start eating his lunch before class started back up. Tora decided to go back up the tree he was on, and lounge lazily among the branches while enjoying the afternoon sun soaking his fur in warmth. Suddenly, his sensitive ears picked up movement in the nearby bushes. Looking over with his white eyes, Tora noticed a young human girl peering through the bushes to watch his equally young summoner. The girl's hair was a dark indigo color till it was nearly black. She wore a baggy jacket over her small frame, and her skin was a pale color that nearly matched her eyes. "Byakugan, Tora mused, as he observed the girl. Seeing those pale white eyes caused the bakemono to think back to when his kind first roamed this world, and met the first chakra user. She was a beautiful woman named Kagayal Satsuki, the one who ate from the Shinju to help end the wars over the land. Tora's clan, who inhabited the world at the time, found out about a human learning chakra, and sought her out. Thinking she was capable of bringing peace to the world, Tora's people taught her how to properly use it, since only animals had any real understanding of chakra. Eventually, she developed eyes similar to the bakemono, and it was called the Byakugan. Later, she had two sons, Hagoromo and Hamura, who inherited her strong chakra and their own eye techniques. Hagoromo inherited the Rinnegan, while Hamura gained the Byakugan. It was around this time, however, that Kagaya became corrupted by the power she had, as those with too much power tend to do. By using the powers given to her by the Shinju, she became a being of immense power and destruction known as the Jubi, or 10 Tails, and set out to reclaim the chakra she deemed as hers, namely that which her sons inherited. Knowing that the children, who were young men at this point, needed help to defeat the power-hungry demons, Tora and his people lent their aid to the two brothers. Teaching them all they knew about chakra, the brothers and the bakemonos went to fight the Jubi. The battle was intense, to say the least. While the brothers, Tora, and his people were all strong in their own right, the Jubi's power was on a completely different level. Finally, the brothers succeeded by sealing away Kagaya's consciousness, while Hagoromo sealed the Jubi's chakra into his own body. Tora himself was one of the few survivors of his clan, and vowed to watch over the two brothers, to make sure they didn't make the same mistakes as their mother. It turns out that he needn't worry, however. Both brothers seemed to have the world's best interest in mind, and worked hard to help the lives of the people who lived there. As time went on, Hagoromo had two sons, Indra and Ashur. Later, as it came time for Hagoromo to pass from this world, he took the chakra from the Jubi that he sealed, and created 9 entities known as the Bijuru, or tailed beasts. He then spoke with Tor, and asked the tiger monster to return to his realm, until the time came when someone worthy, as his successor, was to summon him. That was the last time Tor was in this world, yet he made sure to hear the news of the world from other summons who went to the human world from time to time. Snapping out of his reminiscence, Tor looked back at the young girl with the Byakugan, whom he assumed was a descendant of Hamar. The girl seemed to be looking at his summoner with a shy look of longing, as if she wanted to go speak to the boy, but was too nervous to gather up the courage to go into the clearing. Looks like she's got a crush on the brat, Tor thought idly before a mischievous grin worked its way onto his fanged mouth. Gently floating down behind the hiding girl, Tor placed his hand on her back, and gave a push. The push was enough to send the girl stumbling into the clearing with Naruto in it, with a surprised heap. "Ha!" Naruto said dumbly, as he saw the pale-eyed girl stumble into the clearing. Noticing that the girl fell over, Naruto quickly went over to see if she was alright, never noticing the mane of orange hair poking above the bushes, before it quickly disappeared into the trees. "Are you alright?" he asked in concern while gently propping the girl into a more comfortable sitting position. Unbeknownst to Naruto, said girl was blushing up a storm, and was going through a mental tirade at the moment. And Naruto's talking to me. "Oh, he must think I'm such a K-klutz. What do I say, what do I do?" The pale-eyed girl thought frantically. "Hey, are you okay? Your face is getting all red and stuff," Naruto asked, as he placed the back of his hand against the girl's head, as he's seen mothers do to their children to see if they had a fever. Hinata, startled by the contact and her already raging emotions, did what any shy girl in her position would do. She fainted. Naruto immediately panicked and worried about what to do while Tor lounged in one of the branches of the trees, laughing his furry head off. Seems like life, as the brat summon wouldn't be so dull after all. The sun started to shine through the cracks in the shutters of a window. Light crept through the room until it fell onto a bed, showing the room's lone occupant fast asleep. Suddenly, a shadow slinked closer and closer until it was right on top of the bed. Tor smirked as he readied his claws. It was time for Naruto to wake up. Before the tiger could do anything, however, Naruto's eyes snapped open, and with a determined yell, leaped up from his lying position to give a drop kick right to Tor's chest. The summon gave a surprised oof, before tumbling off the bed clutching his chest. The now 9-year-old Naruto stood on his bed victoriously, glad to have caught his tormentor friend's summon before he could perform the daily ritual of Wakyup and dodge. "Ha! Got you, ya jerk." Naruto cheered in triumph, as he jumped off the bed, and aimed a downward kick towards the still recovering Tor. Before he could complete the attack, however, his leg was caught by a large and clawed fur-covered hand. "Ha, not bad brat, but don't get cocky," Tor roared, as he flung his summoner around like a sack of potatoes, before letting him slam into the opposing wall with a bang. Naruto groaned, as he slid down, a noticeable bump the size of a baseball forming on the back of his head. "Geez, why can't I beat you even after 2 years?" Naruto complained, as he picked himself off of the ground, brushing himself off. It goes to show how much the blonde's endurance has increased, as that would have left him out of commission for at least an hour back when he first met Tor. "Fat chance on that, kid. You could study for 1,000 years, and not even reach the very minimum of my strength," Tor bragged. Though not for a lack of trying, mind you, he thought, as he turned his back to Naruto, and rubbed his still aching ribs. The preteen just rolled his eyes, and stretched, the sun now fully lighting the room. Tor was just the same, as he was when he was first summoned. Shaggy orange fur with black stripes, silver eyes, and razor teeth and claws. It was Naruto, however, who changed the most over the last few years. Whereas before he was one of the shorter members of his class, he had grown to a decent height of nearly 4'8". He also had a more muscular physique now, not to the point where he was bulky, but more along gymnast runner build. Tor accredited this to both the insane Tor training he put the boy through on a daily basis for the last couple years, as well as an improved diet ever since Tor taught Naruto how to both hunt and forage for food. Now he only ate ramen every so often for pleasure. Naruto's hair was also longer and shaggier, looking slightly more like Tor's now. It was the look in Naruto's eyes that really changed though. While they still held that playful mischievous look in them, they also showed a sense of alertness that most children lacked, as if he was prepared for any and all eventualities. They also showed something Naruto desperately wanted, as a child, a true sense of happiness. Thanks to Tor's teachings, Naruto had been able to walk tall and proud these last few years, and he found making friends a much easier task than he did previously. Sure, he still played pranks, and was a lovable goofball most of the time, but now he had a sense about him that one gets when faced with a stronger being, one that demands respect and obedience. After completing the morning rituals, we find Naruto jumping from the rooftops on his way to the academy, with Tor lazily flying beside him. "You seem happy today," the tiger noted. Naruto just grinned, as he leapt to a nearby rooftop. "Of course I am, Tor. We're doing spares again today, and I want to show everyone the taijutsu I've been working on." As the months went by, Tora pointed out to the blonde that the academy's standard forms didn't seem to work all that well with him. When Naruto asked the summon what he should do, the ancient being's response was, as blunt as always, figure out your own style, moron. After that, Naruto had worked on a fighting style that seemed to fit him best. Finally, after nearly 3 years of working on it, the style was, as Tora put it, not a complete piece of crap, which is, as high praise, as one could expect from the tactless summon. Tora just gave a fanged smirk at his summoner's enthusiasm. Well, he was hoping that you didn't just waste these last 2 years working on it then, he commented snidely. Naruto just rolled his eyes at the beast's encouragement, and started to go to the door of the academy that he'd just arrived at. Before entering, Tora leapt up onto Naruto's shoulder, looking like a demented image of a parrot. The two entered the classroom where the other students started settling down, Tora going unnoticed thanks to his abilities. Spotting a familiar head of bluish-black hair, Naruto grinned, and called out to his friend, "Hey Hinata." Said girl gave a slight jump, but controlled herself, looking over to the boy she had a crush on. Hello Naruto, she said slightly timidly, but not nearly as bad as 2 years ago. After the event in the clearing back when Naruto was 7, to which he still didn't know was Tora's doing, he quickly took the fainted girl to the nurse's office, and stayed by her side till she woke. After greeting the young heiress back to the world of the living, and nearly having her faint again, Naruto was able to start talking to the girl. Naturally Naruto, thick-headed that he was, figured that the strange pale-eyed girl might have been interested in training with him, and that was why she was in the clearing, and asked her if she would be interested, once she felt better, in coming to train with him sometime. It was fortunate that Hinata was currently in a bed at that time, otherwise she would have fallen over at that. Gathering every fiber of the minimal courage that resided in her body, Hinata was able to squeak out a yes. Tora, of course, just watched the whole thing from the window, chuckling at the two children's antics. As time went on, it turned out the two were good sparring partners for each other. With her gentle fist attacks, Hinata gave Naruto a good weight to work on both his dodging and endurance, while Naruto's never-give-up attitude not only helped Hinata work on her own endurance, but it also gave her more confidence in battle. While she was no Amazon, she was still able to dish out and take some punishment now. The two had grown to be close friends over the years, though Hinata wished to be slightly more, and spent any free time hanging out. Surprisingly, the Hyuga clan didn't seem to raise a big stink over this, possibly because it was noticed that Hinata had started to improve as an individual ever since she started being around Naruto more. The only problem was that on occasion, like when Naruto would take off his shirt after a spar, Hinata would still get extremely red, and sometimes pass out. Naruto had asked Tora about this, but the Bakemono just laughed. Jerk. Back in the classroom, Naruto sat down beside the heiress, as Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei walked in. For some reason, Tora didn't seem to like Mizuki because he rubbed him the wrong way, and always took the time to make them miserable. From slashing the back of his pants when he wasn't looking, everyone laughed at the Hello Kitty underwear, to tying his shoelaces together so he'd trip when he walked, an impressive feat, considering the teacher was wearing shinobi sandals. Tora didn't seem to mind Iruka though, so the mysterious invisible prankster didn't strike against him. Naruto was initially thought to be the culprit, but there was no evidence to support this. Iruka cleared his throat, trying to get the students' attention. When that didn't work, he coughed louder, but still the kids carried on with what they were doing. Iruka took in a deep breath of air, and Tora covered his long ears with his hands. Iruka's head seemed to grow to 3 times its normal size, as he yelled, "Sit down, and shut up, you brats." Like throwing a switch, everything went silent, as the class sat still in their seats, looking at the now normal Iruka. I still can't figure out how he does that, Tora mused, as he took his hands away from his sensitive ears. Good morning class, today we will be holding our weekly spars to see how you all have improved. If you follow me and Mizuki, we will head out to the sparring arena, Iruka announced while standing up. With that, the two waited, as the students lined up before heading to the circular ring set up in the backyard of the academy. Once everyone was accounted for, Iruka gave an encouraging smile, and said, "Alright, please wait for us to call your names, and step into the ring with your partners. The standard rules apply, just remember to use the seal of reconciliation afterwards." Up first is. This went on for several minutes, as the children were called up to do their spars. Some did well, others average, and others still did terribly. This got rather monotonous after a while, as Naruto's attention started to waver. He idly noticed Tora was lounging on the rooftop of the academy, seemingly asleep, but Naruto knew from experience that he was alert, and ready to move at a moment's notice. Finally his name was called, along with Sasuke Uchiha, the class prodigy. Naruto gave a grin at this, and got into the ring with Sasuke following soon afterwards with his tough bad boy look, which caused most of the girls in the class to squeal, and cheer him on. Normally, Naruto would be nervous about this fight, seeing as whenever they previously fought, Sasuke would always have Naruto kissing dirt. This time, however, Naruto knew his completed fighting style would give him the edge he needed. As Sasuke slipped into his clan's fighting stance, Naruto slid into a stance that wasn't recognized by neither the students nor the faculty. He stood upright with his left leg slightly behind him, and his arms held at his side with a slight angle, giving the impression that he was leaving himself wide open. Sasuke seemed puzzled by this momentarily, but shrugged it off. Once the signal to begin was given, the last Uchiha shot forward at near blurring speeds, but Naruto stood in place. When he got closer, Sasuke shot a fist out intent on going for Naruto's face, but before it could make contact, Naruto shot his left arm out, and actually managed to swat the incoming fist away. Sasuke blinked at that, but quickly changed tactics, using the momentum from the block to bring his leg up for a kick. However, Naruto's right arm shot out, and actually managed to grab the other boy's leg. Using some impressive maneuvering, Naruto turned the grab into a grapple, forcing Sasuke onto his back, while Naruto held onto the leg, while simultaneously getting behind the downed boy, preventing him from getting up. Sasuke growled in irritation, as he tried to use his other leg to donkey kick the blonde, but Naruto was able to use his own legs to wrap around the incoming limb, while his left arm grabbed Sasuke by the right shoulder, and pinned the arm along his back, turning them into some kind of human pretzel. Sasuke struggled to break free, but then Naruto pulled his head back, and gave a headbutt to the dark-haired child. This didn't knock him out, but it was enough to daze him, and Naruto used that to roll Sasuke onto his stomach, successfully pinning him. Naruto blinked at the vastly improved display from one of his favorite students, before realizing that there wasn't any way for Sasuke to get up, thus allowing him to call the match in Naruto's favor. Naruto grinned as he got up. It looks like his new style worked well after all. Due to his constant sparring with Tora, Naruto came to the realization that he couldn't fully fight the more powerful opponent, especially with Tora's superior size, strength, and sharp claws. He then came up with the idea for a style that focused more on deflection and grappling using unpredictable movements, thinking improvised Krav Maga, which allowed him to successfully get around Tora's unstoppable offense. The swiping movements were partially inspired by Tora, as the tiger's powerful swipes were easily able to block his attacks, while at the same time having the potential to give damage. Naruto would still lose to the summon though due to Tora simply overpowering him, but this gave him the insight on how to use it on unsuspecting opponents, who were anticipating him to go for a full-on charge. Tora also commented that it would be ideal for fighting armed opponents, as most weapons had a frontal assault that the swiping motions could easily block. Naruto brushed off the dust on the bottom of his pants, while idly noting the silence in the area. Looking up, Naruto noticed most of the spectators were watching in stunned silence, as the dead last just whooped the top of the class. Others were looking like they'd kill him while he slept, namely Sasuke's fans. Finally, there were those who were looking at him in interest, namely Hinata, Shikamaru, and possibly Shino. It was hard to tell with the shades. Iruka then spoke up, causing Naruto's attention to go back to his teacher. That was a well-fought battle. Now if you'll both do the seal of reconciliation, he said expectantly. Naruto gave a smile to the now standing Sasuke, as he held two of his fingers out. The dark-haired boy, despite looking a little dusty, had largely shaken off the effects of the headbutt, and was frowning at the smiling blonde. Reluctantly putting two of his fingers out to form the seal, Naruto swore he heard Sasuke mutter, "How'd he get so strong?" The two then exited the ring, as the silence finally broke amongst the crowd, as the students started to gossip excitedly about what just happened. Later that day, the academy was letting out for the day, and Naruto was walking Hinata home. "So what do you think those girls' problem was?" Naruto asked idly, as they walked. For some reason unknown to the boy, the majority of the girls in the academy had given him the cold shoulder for the rest of the day. While getting glared at wasn't anything new to the boy, the sudden increase of hostility made him uneasy. "I think they must be upset about your win against Sasuke," Hinata told her crush honestly. She was truthfully irritated about the girls' response to the loss their object of affection suffered. Did she give any of the other students the cold shoulder when they beat Naruto? No, even if she was upset she'd never do that. That was silly to do for a simple sparring match. "Ha. That's stupid," exclaimed Naruto, apparently agreeing with the girl's thoughts without her saying anything. "I know it is, but they'll hopefully get over it with time," Hinata said optimistically. "After all, you've just proven that you're getting much better, so you can't be called the dead last anymore." "Yeah, I hope so, thanks," Naruto nodded in agreement. It was then they reached the front of the Hyuga estate. "Well, here we are. See you tomorrow, Hinata?" Naruto asked. Giving a small smile, Hinata said, "I would like that." In a display completely out of character for her, Hinata reached over and gave Naruto a quick hug. It was so quick that you might have missed it if you blinked, but it was there. Afterwards, Naruto had an expression of complete and utter surprise on his face, while Hinata's looked somewhat like a tomato with how red it was, before she went running into the compound at speeds that would have made the current Raikage jealous. Naruto stood stock still for a few minutes, until a rumbling chuckle snapped him out of his daze. Turning around, Naruto found Tora perched on top of a streetlight looking highly amused. Well. Aren't we on top of the world today, huh? He grinned through a fanged smirk. The light shade of pink mixed with the whisker marks, as Naruto turned away while stammering out, I have no idea what you're talking about, dumb tiger." Giving another laugh, Tor leapt from the streetlight and landed right beside the boy with cat-like grace. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. You're just too stupid to realize it yet. Anyway, great job today, Brad. You've proven that your physical aspects don't suck as hard as when we first met. Now all we need to do is work more on the chakra portions. You better be ready, because the hell I'm planning will make what we've done previously seem like a cakewalk. With that, Tor shot into the air and soared over to where Naruto's apartment was, cackling all the while. Stupid summon, Naruto muttered under his breath as he started walking towards his home, wondering about the hug, his victory that day, and Tor's words. It was when he thought about the last one that he stopped walking and lost all color in his face. A second, what did he mean by a cakewalk? Tor, you sadist, you get your furry butt back here right now, and tell me what you have planned. Naruto hollered, as he raced towards the apartment with plans of forcing his troublesome summon on what tortures he had planned for the boy. The 12-year-old Naruto sat on top of the force head at the Hokage monument, doing something that would make most people believe they were hallucinating. He was in a meditative position, and was sitting absolutely still for over 5 minutes. As time moved on, a change could be seen overtaking Naruto. His spiky blonde hair started to grow out until it flowed down his back, while on his face, his whisker marks thickened until they represented tiger stripes, while his exposed arms also gained tiger-like stripes. Despite the change, Naruto seemed completely at ease. That changed after a few moments though, as Naruto's nails lengthened into claws while his teeth poked out of his lips into razor-sharp fangs. As orange fur started to join the black stripes, as it sprouted on his arms and face. Before the transformation could progress, however, Tor materialized on Naruto's shoulder and bonked a clawed fist on the boy's head. Naruto yelped as he fell back, nursing a lump on his head, his animalistic traits fading as fast as they appeared. Looking up, Naruto saw Tor standing at his intimidating height with his arms crossed. HMPH, still not there, Brad. Maybe Tiger Sage mode is too far out of your reach. The summon sneered. Grumbling, Naruto got off the ground and glared at the tiger. Give me a break, Tor. Sitting still too long is boring. Plus, I was able to get closer that time, I could feel it. Naruto snapped at his summon. You also got closer to becoming a stone statue as well. Well, I might find you annoying. Death through training isn't exactly how I'd want to see you kick the bucket. Tor snapped right back. Groaning, Naruto put his hands behind his head and started to head to the village with Tor floating behind him. Anyways, I'm beat, and I gotta get set for the exam tomorrow, Naruto said, as they departed the monument. You sure you've got it down this time, Brad? I'd hate to see you flop horribly, no matter how hilarious it may be. Tor gave a fanged smirk. Instead of exploding like his younger self would have, Naruto snorted. Yeah, I'd bet you'd like that. Anyway, with all the training I've been doing, I'm sure I'm gonna pass. Then I'll be one step closer to becoming Hokage, believe it. Heh, you better. I'm one of the most powerful summons out there, and it would only make sense if my summoner is a little bit stronger than the rest of the ants you call humans, Tor boasted while lightly landing on Naruto's shoulder. Rolling his eyes, Naruto quipped, better watch the ego, Tor. If your head gets any bigger, I don't know how much my poor shoulder can take. The blonde started to laugh, which turned into another yelp, as Tor once more tried to brain him. This soon turned into a quick slugfest which, as always, ended with Tor on top of Naruto, and the blonde's face planted firmly in the dirt. After brushing himself off, the two continued the rest of the way back to Naruto's apartment in silence. As Naruto got ready for bed, Tor asked, Say Blondie, what were those tags you were planting on the monument before the training today anyway? Naruto grinned, as he pulled on his nightshirt. Ah, ya saw that, huh? Well, I figured since I'm graduating tomorrow, I probably won't be able to do any real pranks for a while. So I set those tags up for tomorrow to give me a nice big send-off. The best thing is, it'll be set off on a timer, so there's no way they can link me to it, even though they'll all know it was me. Naruto cackled like a mad genius, while Tor simply smirked at his summoner's antics, and hopped up onto his place on the roof to sleep. Morning, the early risers of Konoha had woken up, and had started their daily rituals. One merchant was unpacking his cart full of wares, while a mail carrier went from mailbox to mailbox with the latest news. Suddenly though, a loud boom roared through the village, frightening those who were awake, and startling the rest of the village out of their slumber. Fearing an enemy attack, the village guard quickly looked around for anything amiss. One by one, all attention was slowly brought to the Hokage monument, which left the villagers gaping. Each of the 4 stone faces were now covered in graffiti. Some of the Hokages had childish scribbles on them, while others had rude words written on them. One thing they all had in common though was the whisker marks and tiger stripes painted on their faces. Finally, in the space next to the 4th's head was written, reserved for the most awesomest Hokage ever. Only one person would be ballsy and juvenile to pull this off, and everyone said it at once, Naruto. Academy. Naruto snickered, as the rest of the class glared at him. The entire village knew that he was responsible for this latest act of vandalism, but couldn't pin it on him, since the timer seals that had been used to hold the paint were homemade, and were destroyed in the explosion. Plus, when the Anbu went looking for the whiskered child, they found him sound asleep in his bed with not a speck of paint to be found in his apartment. Meanwhile, a certain tiger summon was laughing his furry head off at the spectacle of the village that morning, and was still chuckling, as he sat on his summoner's shoulder in his invisible mode. Back in class, both Iruka and Mizuki got ready to do the exams for the students. Today many of you will be starting off on the next step of your journey to become ninjas of the Hidden Leaf, Iruka explained to his class, as he and Mizuki prepared the written portion of the exam. The journey ahead of you will be long, and at times dangerous, but I'm confident each and every one of you will make the leaf proud. 1. Naruto grinned, as he looked over the exam. While written tests weren't his strong suit, Tora had beat it into his head, that a strong mind is just as important as a strong body to a warrior. After the hour was up, and the papers were turned in, it was time for the ninjutsu portion of the exam. One by one the students were called, with Naruto giving each of his friends a nod of encouragement to which they all returned, though Hinata did look quite red when she went into the exam room. Naruto hoped that it wasn't her nerves about the exam. When his name was finally called, Naruto bounded into the exam room with a large grin. Prepare to be blown away by my awesomeness, Naruto declared, as he stood confidently in front of Iruka and Mizuki. The two rolled their eyes at the blonde's antics, and Iruka looked at him while saying, "Alright Naruto, it's time to do the 3 necessary jutsu. Are you ready?" Seeing his whiskered student nod, Iruka continued, "The first thing we need to try is the replacement jutsu. You need to replace yourself with one of the logs along the back of the room when one of us." The scar was cut off, as Mizuki chucked a blunted kunai at the boy, who disappeared in a puff of smoke to be replaced by a log. The boy himself was along the back wall of the room. Throws an object at you randomly. Iruka finished, giving an approved nod at Naruto's reaction time. Next is the transformation jutsu. Transform into the first thing you think of whenever you're ready. Naruto gave a mischievous grin at this that put both teachers on edge. Putting his hands together in the necessary sign, Naruto shouted out, "Transform." And a puff of smoke once more surrounded the boy. However, when the smoke cleared, instead of Naruto or a log, there stood a gorgeous blonde woman who had her long hair pulled into pigtails, and had cute whisker marks on both cheeks. It was then noticed that besides the few wisps of smoke in key areas, the girl was entirely naked. Both Iruka and Mizuki gave deep blushes, as their eyes bulged out of their heads. This only lasted for a moment though, as both men were sent crashing into the opposite wall via the torrential nosebleed they both got. The blonde goddess disappeared in another puff of smoke to reveal a laughing Naruto, who was cracking up at the results of his self-made attack. The sexy jutsu. It was a technique he came up with and, due to his hilarity, Tora approved of it. Unseen by all except Naruto, Tora was also laughing at the two Chunin's misfortune, Mizuki's more than Iruka's. He thought, I'm surprised that worked on that gray-haired human. I always thought he swung the other way. After a minute or two, both teachers were able to pick themselves off the ground, curiously already having wads of tissue shoved up their nostrils. Enough of your stupid jutsu. Iruka roared in embarrassment, as Mizuki sat down with a blush still on his face, though this was humiliation. Giggling, Naruto was able to compose himself enough to do the transformation again, though this time of Iruka. Giving a cough, the scar said, "Now that's better. Finally, you have to do the clone jutsu, and you'll be set." Sensei. I've been having trouble with the standard clones because I'm told I have too much chakra, so I've been practicing around, and was able to find an alternate version of the jutsu. Will that be okay? Iruka paused for a moment, and looked at Mizuki, who just looked confused. Well, if it works, as well as the clone jutsu, I don't see why not. Show us what you can do, he consented. Nodding, Naruto plucked 3 strands of his hair from his head, and shouted, "Hidden Tiger Clone Jutsu," and blew on the hairs. Smoke enveloped them, and, as it cleared, 3 Narutos were now standing in the room. Though unlike normal clones, these clones seemed to have an actual solid presence in the room. This display left the 2 teachers gaping. Getting a hold of himself, Iruka commented, "Wow, I didn't see that coming." He then gave an encouraging smile to the blonde, and continued, "That was amazing Naruto. I've never seen a clone jutsu like that before, and it looks like a version that is usually reserved for higher rank, yet you pulled it off flawlessly. If you don't mind, can you tell me how these clones work?" Naruto smirked, and said, "Sorry sensei, but a good ninja never reveals his tricks." "Fair enough. You have more than earned to wear this." He pulled out a leaf forehead protector out of the box beside the table he sat at, and held it out for the whiskered preteen. "Congratulations." He finished with a huge grin on his face. "Alright." Naruto whooped, as he jumped for his forehead protector, accidentally tackling Iruka in the process. After embarrassingly apologizing, Naruto took off the goggles he wore on his forehead, and tied the leaf symbol in his place. After the rest of the class got their headbands, we find Naruto sitting on the swing giving a quiet chat with Tora, having earlier given his congratulations to Hinata, as she went to her family's home to tell them the good news. So absorbed was he with his conversation, that Naruto was able to ignore some of the dirty looks a portion of the parents were shooting his way. "Man, that was easy. I owe you Tora, that clone jutsu you showed me was amazing," Naruto whispered to the summon. Fair, I personally think you called it done better, Tora taunted at the now fuming Naruto. I mean, you should have finished that written test in less than half the time you should, and you still need practice on the full use of the hidden tiger clones. Other than that, meh, I'd give it 6 out of 10. Oh screw you, Naruto grunted at his summon sensei frenemy before he noticed Tora stiffening somewhat. What's wrong? He asked. The grey pus bag is coming, Tora growled, as Naruto focused on his surroundings. Sure enough, Mizuki was approaching him with a smile on his face, despite the negative vibes he was radiating. Thanks to years of honing his instincts, Naruto could tell a person's intent almost as well as Tora can, and thanks to this, he no longer felt comfortable about the man. Mizuki seemed pleasant enough, but there was always that lingering feeling that he was hiding his true emotions to fool everybody else. Ah, good to see you haven't left yet, Naruto, Mizuki said in a cheerful voice. What's up, Mizuki-sensei? Naruto asked, internally cautious, but remaining pleasant on the outside. Mizuki wasn't the only one who could act. First of all, I wanted to give you my congratulations on passing. Though the teachers have run into a slight snag, Mizuki explained, you see, after going over the numbers, you use those unique clones of yours, and the good results of the rest of your test have given you a tied score with Sasuke. Normally this wouldn't be a problem, but since Sasuke is placed as the top student, your scoring makes team placements a little harder. So it was decided by the staff that each of you would be given an individual test, and the one who scores the highest will get the top student rank. We'll be able to work out team assignments from there. Naruto nodded while mentally frowning. While Mizuki's reasoning seemed sound, he still felt wary from the sense of foreboding he was getting from the Tora's constant growling didn't help much either. Deciding to play along, Naruto questioned, so what's the test? Internally smirking, as his plans came together, Mizuki gave the demon brat his instructions, confident he'd be successful in both getting the Scroll of Seals and ridding the world of the Nine Tails once and for all. Time skip. Later that night, I still think this whole plan of yours is one of the most boneheaded stunts I've ever heard of in my entire life. And trust me, I've seen some doozies in my time, Tora pointed out to Naruto, as that boy quietly crept through the Hokage tower. Lay off, would ya? The way I see it, if Mizuki's telling the truth then no harm, no foul, Naruto thought, as he sensed any hidden ambu. And if Mizuki wasn't on the up and up, I'd have a backup plan just in case. Your funeral, Tora grunted, as he idly floated behind the boy. Once they reached the room that held the scrolls, the two couldn't help but admire the sheer size of the place. Unfortunately, their awe cost them their focus, so they didn't notice the presence behind them. What are you doing in my home in the middle of the night? An old yet firm voice asked behind Naruto, causing him to yelp and spin around only to see the third standing behind him. Oh crap, plan B. Naruto thought in a panic, as he quickly gathered the necessary chakra. Transform. He yelled. Ah, scene skip. Force, I take it back, that was the dumbest plan I'd ever seen in my entire life. Honestly can't believe that worked, Tora said in a deadpan, as his left eye twitched. I know what you mean. Can't honestly believe my luck. Who knew the old man was a pervert? Naruto asked aloud, since there was no one around to see him talking to his imaginary friend. Now let's see, Naruto musing, as he opened up the scroll and took a look at its contents. Oh look, they've got something called shadow clones in here, might be useful to look at later. Now let's see what else is here, Naruto pointed out with an interesting hum. After a moment or two, Naruto called out, this'll work. Taking a peek at what his summoner was looking at, Tora gave a growling chuckle. Oh yeah, I can see you working with that. It was a few hours of practicing later when Naruto was lying on the ground panting heavily with a satisfied grin on his face. Nailed it, he declared. I finally found you, an irritated voice commenting in front of him. Looking up, Naruto found an annoyed-looking Iruka standing over him. Oh hey Iruka-sensei, what are you doing here? Naruto asked, as he got up onto his feet. What am I doing here? Is that all you've got to say for yourself? Iruka yelled, as he bopped Naruto over the head, causing him to find himself kissing dirt. Ow, 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 Naruto whined, as he nursed a swelling bump on his head. Looking up at the seething instructor, Naruto asked, hey, what gives? I do this stupid bonus exam, and this is the thanks I get. Iruka gained a confused look on his face. Bonus exam? What are you talking about? I totally called it, Tora stated in his undetectable mode, while Naruto gained a more alert pose, while trying to keep his cool. What do you mean, sensei? Mizuki-sensei told me that the academy needed me to take the scroll in the Hokage tower, and learn a jutsu from it for them to help with the team placement, he asked, before his well-toned instincts started screaming at him of incoming danger. Before he could react, the whiskered boy was roughly shoved to the side, as the sound of multiple sharp objects slicing through the air assaulted his ears. Getting up, Naruto looked in shock, as Iruka was pinned to the side of the shed in the clearing they were in by a multitude of kunai and shuriken. Fortunately none of them were in fatal areas, but it would still be extremely painful to experience. Looking up, Naruto saw Mizuki crouched in the tree above the two dressed in stealth gear, and with two massive shurikens strapped to his back. Hearing a cough, Naruto turned to Iruka who was glaring at Mizuki, while he took the knives out of his arms and legs. So that's how the scared teacher grunted. Mizuki, a look of urgency on his face, called out to Naruto, "Naruto, give me the scroll. Iruka's after it, and he'll kill you to get it." Like any idiot would believe, the Taurus said flatly, not believing how gullible Mizuki thought his summoner wars were. Well, the one lie was somewhat believable, that one was clearly thrown together on the fly. Tor got comfortable up in a nearby tree branch to see how his host would do in this situation, while still being close enough to intervene if things got out of control. Let's play along for now, see how this goes. Naruto mentally thought along the same lines as the Bakemono, while putting on an act of being confused. Don't listen to him, Naruto. Iruka shouted out at the boy, struggling to move through the pain. That scroll contains village secrets. You need to get out of here now, and defend that scroll with your life. Seeing that Naruto seemed to be hesitating, and that Iruka was for all intents and purposes out of commission, Mizuki figured he could drop the act. Sighing before gaining a white insane grin, Mizuki said, "Oh well, it was fun while it lasted," before pulling one of the giant shuriken off his back. "Hey Naruto," he called, getting the boy's attention. "Do you want to know why the villagers hate you?" Knowing where the traitor was going with this, Tora couldn't help but groan, "Oh, you've gotta be freaking kidding me." Iruka also knew where the other was going with this, and yelled out, "No. You mustn't tell him, Mizuki. The law." Honestly curious on what the treacherous former sensei was going with this, Naruto gave a confused look and asked, "What are you talking about? What law?" Mizuki's grin was downright demonic at this point, as he continued, "Do you know what happened 13 years ago?" Mizuki cut in. Naruto, getting a sinking feeling on where the sudden change in subject was going, answered with a trembling voice, "Of course I know what happened. The Kyuubi attacked, and was killed by the fourth, but what does he was again cut off by the shuriken wielding. Kyuubi was never killed," Mizuki said. "That night, the fourth chose a newly born infant to seal the demon into. Do you want to know who he chose?" He asked, grinning wickedly, staring into Naruto's ocean blue eyes. "He chose you. You're the nine-tailed fox, the demon that ravaged this village, and stole Iruka's parents away," he shouted. Naruto was stunned, finally understanding now why so many in the village seemed to hate him. All the pieces started to fall into place. Who else knew about this? Certainly the Hokage, but what about his classmates? The Ichirokas? Tor? His mind started to go through a whirlwind of emotions. Mizuki, seeing the blonde was distracted, gave another wicked grin, as he prepared to throw his shuriken. "Now you can just die, demon spawn," he shouted, as he threw the spinning blade. Naruto was able to snap out of his trance in time to notice the blade coming for him. "Oh crap," was all he could think before he was once again knocked to the ground. Looking up, Naruto was shocked to see Iruka crouched protectively over him, the large shuriken lodged in his back. "Are you alright, Naruto?" he asked shakily, some stray blood from the corner of his mouth dripping onto Naruto's whiskered cheek. "Why?" Naruto asked weakly, as seeing Iruka risk himself like that for the supposed killer of his parents really made him confused. Giving a shaky breath, Iruka explained, "After they died there was nobody to compliment or acknowledge me. I always acted like an idiot, just to get people's attention since I wasn't all that good at academics. It was better than being nothing, so I kept acting like an idiot. It was so painful. Naruto, you must also be in a lot of pain. I'm sorry I wasn't able to look out for you more." Naruto was silent through this exchange, but his blonde bangs covered his eyes, as his sensei went on. At the end of Iruka's speech, twin trails of tears ran down his whiskered cheeks. Gently moving out from under Iruka, Naruto turned to the direction of the traitorous gray-haired man. Mizuki sneered down at the blonde. "Oh, you got something to say to me, brat? Well, make it quick so I can kill you, and be on my way." "Shut up," Naruto said in a whisper before he fully looked up at Mizuki, his eyes holding a righteous fury. "If you so much as lay one more hand on Iruka-sensei, I'll kill you." He growled while focusing on some of his own killing intent, hardened through the rigorous years of harsh training, and being exposed to Tora's massive killing intent. While he was still in shock over the massive bombshell dropped on him, one of the first lessons Tora taught him was, if you ever hesitate while in a battle, your enemy will never hesitate to kill you. So take any shock, any petty grievance you might have, and save it for when the battle is over. If you must, turn it into focused anger that can be unleashed upon your enemy. So while he was still stunned, he was able to put it into the back of his mind for now, and focus all his feelings on the man who tried to trick him. His killing intent was so intense that it caused Mizuki to take an involuntary step back, before he regained his bravado, and gave a maniacal laugh. "Ha! You are going to kill me? I'd love to see you try. I'll kill you in one move," Mizuki boasted while he took his remaining shuriken off his back, and took a ready stance. "Just right. I'll turn anything you throw at me back 1,000 times over," Naruto shouted out while plucking out 5 hairs, and blowing on them. "Hidden Tiger Clone Jutsu," Naruto shouted, as the clearing was filled with smoke. When the smoke cleared, 5 Naruto clones stood beside the original. Mizuki, however, just scoffed, "PFT, if I was just seeing this I might be surprised, but even with 5 of you, I can easily take you on," he roared as he hurled his shuriken like a boomerang, causing the clones to scatter. As Mizuki started to charge at the clones, Naruto smirked, and put his hands into a seal while muttering, "Release." In another puff of smoke, the clones were suddenly replaced by 5 huge and angry-looking tigers, too. They halted while going wide-eyed and pale at this sudden change of events. The tigers started to circle the man when they all started to play a game of literal cat and mouse with him. When one tiger would charge, Mizuki would jump to avoid it, while another would jump him, as he had his guard lowered. This went on for several minutes, and soon Mizuki was littered with cuts and scrapes from the tigers while panting heavily, and the tigers themselves were once again circling him like hungry sharks. Grinning, Naruto called out, "Hey Mizuki. You know what I learned from the scroll? Well, get ready to experience it firsthand." Getting into a crouching position that was mirrored by the clone tigers, Naruto shouted out, "Tiger version. Fang over fang." 3. With that, all 5 of the transformed clones became what looked like drills made of flesh, bone, and claws that darted towards the now screaming traitor. They clashed in the middle, and there was a loud explosion from the impact that kicked up plenty of dust and dirt. Iruka, staring wide-eyed at the display, found his voice a moment later. Did you kill him?" he asked hesitantly, unsure of how anyone could survive such an onslaught. Naruto turned to the wounded and gave a big cheesy grin and a thumbs up before the clone tigers went up in puffs of smoke to reveal an out-cold but very much alive Mizuki who lay pitifully on the ground. The man was black and blue all over and looked like he got on the wrong side of several alley cats, but he'd survive. Naruto was able to lift the injured Iruka up onto his feet and started to carry him back to the village, while he summoned a human-formed clone to carry the scroll, and another carried a still out cold and tied up Mizuki. "Do you think you'll be okay, sensei?" Naruto asked, as he stared at the wounds in worry. Iruka just waved it off. "Oh, I'm sure I'll be fine once the medic nins take a look at me. In the meantime, you'd better stick close to me until we get this whole mess sorted out," he stated, slightly surprised that the Anbu haven't stumbled upon them yet. Naruto, however, gave a giggle at this. Seeing his teacher's confused look, Naruto elaborated, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that, sensei. Before I left with the scroll I made sure to leave a note for the old man, explaining why I was taking it. That way, if Mizuki was tricking me, he'd have the Anbu on him faster than an Akamichi on Barbek." He finished with a triumphant grin. Iruka seemed surprised at that. "So you were expecting Mizuki to trick you?" he asked. Naruto gave an affirmative nod. "Kinda, yeah. Well, his reasoning for me taking the scroll was good. I felt there were a few too many blanks that weren't getting filled out. So I figured that, since Mizuki never said not to, I'd leave the old man a note on why the scroll was missing." Iruka could only chuckle at his student's forethought. While seeming to be a hopeless idiot at times, Naruto truly did have a good head on his shoulders. Similar to Shikamaru, Iruka felt Naruto held back some of his potential in class. "So Iruka-sensei, about the fox," Naruto started, not sure how to proceed. Iruka gave the blonde a gentle smile. "Don't worry too much about Naruto. Well, I'm sorry you found out the way you did. There's something you need to hear. Well, I might hate the fox, I don't hate you. I've acknowledged you as one of my excellent students. You may not be the hardest worker and can be clumsy, and not everyone accepts you, but you already know what it is to feel pain inside your heart. You aren't the monster fox. You are a member of the Hidden Leaf. You're Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto was silent for a few moments, and Iruka noticed his head was bowed and his shoulders were shaking a little. "Naruto," he started to say before he was tackled by an orange blur. "Iruka-sensei." The blonde cried in joy as tears of happiness ran down his face. Naruto hugged onto one of his most precious people as he continued to sob in happiness. "Ow. Hey, cut it out Naruto, I'm injured here." Iruka admonished the blonde, though it wasn't with any malice, as he both laughed and cringed in pain. Up above, Tor smiled in approval at his summoner proving the fruits of his labors. Perhaps he was truly worthy of holding a contract with him after all. He then grimaced, as he knew that the brat would probably be questioning him about Kurama soon enough. Well, it wasn't a conversation he was particularly looking forward to, it was one that needed to be done eventually. For now though, he'd settle for the joy of the moment where the brat no Naruto takes his first steps into becoming the legend he knew the boy could be. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.